relates to that, which is I think that people had tended to think that if you're creative, you're just it's like this wild, noisy thing. Like it's like you're basically everyone's like yelling stuff out. And one of the things we've realized, I think, over the years is that the most important creative act is actually listening. That actually listening really well. And I think the Doug Dietz story is a great example of that. It's one of the most critical things. And so we're actually doing a series of things on creative listening here, just to sort of say, can we rediscover the creative act of listening and actually how you can pull things from it. So definitely check that out if you have time. But.
Yeah, this thing about defining the creative ones or the noisy ones and stuff like that. I mean, what's happened, we've discovered both in research for the book and then subsequent to its publication, is people have a pretty narrow definition of what creative is, right? And part of making that definition so narrow, they've drawn a circle and they are on the outside of it. And we had a really sweet, as I said, I like all 100 of our interviewees, and one really sweet one was this young woman who works for us. Her name is Jill Levinson. And Jill walked around, as many people do, like, oh, I'm not creative, right? And in case she wasn't sure about which, where she was, whether she was inside that circle or not, Jill first worked for an ad agency out of school. And in ad agencies, they've got the creative department, right? And if you're not in the creative department, draw your own conclusion, right? It supported her belief system around that. And so she came to IDEO still holding on to that belief system. And I actually thought she was creative from the beginning. She shows up at work with these beautiful cakes. She, I guess, takes cake decorating courses, and she brings these cakes that are like works of art to the office, but she'll say, oh, no, I'm not creative. I didn't make up the recipe for that cake. So like, I'm going to keep making it a little smaller. No, I may create art, but it's not my art, so I'm still not creative. And then a really fun thing happened, which was Jill, just on the side, started playing around with Pinterest. Anybody pay attention to Pinterest? So yeah, lots of hands. And I didn't see any guys raise your hands, but guys, if you raise your hand, forget it. You are invisible to Pinterest. So we've had the Pinterest folks over, and when they talk about their customer, they say she and her, and you might stumble onto their site. You may even like their site. That's okay, but don't expect them to ever speak to you about it, right? So anyhow, so she starts playing with Pinterest, and she's got 6 followers. It's her 6 girlfriends, which is fun. But her stuff is pretty good. She's got these really interesting pins, and so the 6, tell their 6 friends, and goes, and next thing Jill knows, she's got 1,000 followers, which is pretty darn respectable, right? And then it continues to build a little bit, but then one day she has this really, really good pin. If you've spent any time on Pinterest, you may have seen this one. It's about piñata cookies. Anybody ever see this? Well, first of all, you have to make 7 different colors of dough and put them in the fridge overnight. This is really, Jill made the piñata cookies for me. I'm so indebted to her because this takes a lot of work, right? 7 different colors of dough, and then you put them in the freezer overnight, and then you line them up, and then you roll them out, and then you put the cookie cutter, and then you cut, it's in the shape of a burro, of a donkey, right? But you have to make 3, and so you've made 3 cutouts in the shape of a donkey, and then on the middle one you take a juice glass and you cut a circle out, and then you put the 3 together, and then you put M&Ms in the circle that you've cut out of the middle layer, and then the kid breaks it open, and M&Ms come out like it's a piñata, and you must really love that kid if you're making those piñata cookies, right? But they're so beautiful too, which is I think partly why it works so well on Pinterest. And so Jill suddenly has 100,000 followers. Right? And then Pinterest, they got big data, right? And they see this trend line, and Jill Levinson's line goes like this one day, and they said, what's up with this Jill Levinson woman? Let's go talk to her, and they do, and they put her on their homepage, and next thing Jill knows, she's got 1 million followers. So my book goes to press, it's a million followers, and it's currently 1.8. So I have a deal with Jill that the day it hits 2 million, she's going to tell me, right? But meanwhile, this is a big change on Jill. It gets back to listening. She's listening to her followers, and she says, you know what? She says, I am creative, right? I'm not creative in that old way. I don't make up the recipes for things. She says, but my followers tell me I have a creative eye, right? I'm a kind of a creative collector of ideas, and my followers really, really like it, right? So I'm going to do more of this. And so first thing that happens is Jill, we call it flipping. Jill goes from I'm not creative to I am creative. And when this happens, people glow. I mean, it is really fun for them. And so it might be enough. I mean, it's kind of enough for me that Jill has that great self-actualization, but it doesn't stop there. Jill now, with this like a new kind of I'm creative outlook, she takes on bigger tasks. She's got more like resilience when things don't go, well all the time. She's just making a bigger contribution at work. By the way, part of what attracted me to Jill's story is I ran into her mom somewhere and she says, "Do you know my daughter?" She says, "She is so different. You know, she's just like come alive." And she came alive partly through this process in which she now believes she's creative. And we are feeling the effect. I mean, Jill in herself is, but we're feeling it too, right? And so I think Jill's story is all of our stories. Right? What Jill did, if you think about it, is she just stretched that circle a little bit. She changed her definition of what's creative a little bit. And so she enabled her to step inside the circle instead of being outside the circle. Changed her impact on the world. So
I'm going to